into his boots, and Donaire now just sensing a moment.
In boxing, sometimes you just get hit. But thankfully for these boxers and the fans, they have lights out, downright ridiculous fight-ending punching power. Often called the touch of death or the eraser, one punch power has many names. In a sport where one wrong move can ruin you, having this power is a get out of jail free card. Today we're taking a look at the heaviest hands in boxing, with a couple knockout artists you might not expect. This should come as no surprise, as Gervonta Davis is the most electric boxer in the sport today, but it isn't always a walk in the park for Tank. In 2020, Leo Santa Cruz moved up a weight class to challenge Davis, and he came to brawl. In true Mexican fashion, he stood toe-to-toe with Tank, willing to take 2 shots to land one of his own. We already knew Santa Cruz was a dog, but when he decided to stay in the pocket and trade with Tank, he gave us one of Gervonta's most interesting fights to date. He was pressuring Davis effectively and tagged him up more than any of his previous opponents. Not saying Tank was ever in danger, but after tasting his power, Santa Cruz smiled and went back into the fire. Well, that smile wouldn't last long, because after throwing the same punch 3 times in a row, Tank figured him out and landed the nastiest neck-snapping uppercut right on the button. Leo went lifeless and Davis gave us knockout of the year. I gotta give it to Santa Cruz, he made it competitive to the point where the commentator actually started to believe in his chin.
If Davis thought Santa Cruz was going to fold from his... Oh my!
But when you got hands like Tank, the fight can stop at any moment. Pound for pound, Naoya Inoue is my #1 hardest hitting boxer, simply for the fact that he's sleeping world class opponents in the lower weight classes, where it's notoriously harder to get a knockout. The monster made it look easy as he tore through the World Boxing Super Series, knocking out every champion in 2 rounds or less. It was beginning to look like a cakewalk for Inoue until in the final, he ran into the left hook legend, Nonito Donaire. On paper, it seemed like another Inoue victory. After all, Donaire was a week away from his 37th birthday and his best fighting days were well behind him. But the Filipino Flash turned back the clock and put on a vintage performance. In the second round, Donaire landed a counter left hook that opened up a cut above Inoue's right eye. This blurred his vision and had him seeing double for the rest of the fight. Inoue's hardest test was about to get a whole lot harder. To compensate for the double vision, Inoue had to cover his eye so he could even see where he was punching. Ironically, a trick he learned from his enemy, 6 years ago when a punch had Donaire seeing 2 opponents. Studying film pays off. Inoue's troubles had no end in sight however, as in the 9th round, a counter right hand from Donaire buckled Inoue and made him hang on for dear life. Inoue's monster aura was momentarily shaken, as we've never seen him staggered and forced to clinch in order to survive. It seemed like Inoue had finally met his match. He was still controlling the fight and winning most of the exchanges, but he was getting pushed to his absolute limit. In the 11th round, after a grueling, power-punching chess match, Inoue would finally land his bomb. His signature punch, a left hook to the liver, completely shut off Donaire and forced him to retreat. What should have been his 9th knockout in a row was ruined by the ref, who blocked Inoue, gave Donaire time before the count, and let him continue despite standing up after 10. Regardless, Inoue went on to dominate a shelled up Donaire and score a unanimous decision victory to unify the belts and win the Muhammad Ali trophy. Inoue got rocked, blinded, and took punches from Donaire that have since knocked out other champions, but he persevered and landed his money punch. To take that much damage and still carry his power to the 11th round is testament to his accuracy, speed, and heavy hands. In the rematch, Inoue would leave zero doubt, brutalizing Donaire and scoring the knockout in just 2 rounds. Fun fact, Inoue's younger brother Takuma is the same height, same weight, same trainer, same everything as his brother, but only has 4 knockouts on his record. Naoya Inoue is special, and with his monstrous punching power, it's no wonder he's an undisputed champion and the pound for pound #1 ranked fighter. Bud Crawford doesn't fit the mold of a one-hitter quitter, but I would be remiss to not include this cold-blooded clip. Despite dominating most of his fight with Sean Porter, Bud's corner told him he was down on the scorecards. Entering the 10th, like a scene out of Rocky, he knew he couldn't leave it in the hands of the judges. You can actually see Crawford's demeanor suddenly change and activate his killer instinct. Within 15 seconds, he had Porter on the canvas. After a minute, he was methodically picking Porter apart, countering him and beating him to the ground for a second time. Porter's dad had seen enough and threw in the towel. Terrence Crawford doesn't have one-punch power like Davis or Inoue, but his ability to shift into a higher gear at a moment's notice makes him one of the best finishers in the game. There's a reason why he's on a 10-win knockout streak, because he can decide to finish a fight whenever he wants to. If the term heavy hands could be a person, it would undoubtedly be Artur Beterbiev. With a 100% knockout ratio, he's arguably the scariest puncher in all of boxing. He has that freaky, thudding, hit like a truck power. He's no Bivol when it comes to hand speed, but when he lands, it's night-night. Listen to him throw hooks on the wall bag like a sniper. It was business as usual when he knocked down Callum Johnson in the first round, but this only emboldened the British fighter to take it to Beterbiev. Johnson shocked the world when a looping left cracked the champion, sending him buckling to the canvas. Beterbiev was in real danger too as he stumbled to the corner. Callum Johnson had a hurt champion right in front of him, a punch away from the title, but he couldn't seize the moment. And if you give a ferocious puncher like Beterbiev a chance to recover, you're gonna pay. After a break, Johnson attempted to swarm Beterbiev and got caught coming in. A right hand crumbled him and he couldn't beat the count. As fast as he almost became champion, his dreams were dashed away with a single punch. Beterbiev doesn't have that snappy, fast Inoue power, but gets the job done with thunderous, heavy, destructive force. 19 men have tried and all 19 found out the hard way. Boxing fans might not be so hot on Anthony Joshua now, but it was only 6 years ago when he was the undefeated heavyweight champ with 18 wins, all by knockout. Back when he was a bruiser, every AJ fight felt like it was gonna end in fireworks. And for a 41-year-old Vladimir Klitschko, it was no different. AJ came out swinging in the 5th round. We haven't seen Joshua this aggressive since before the first Ruiz fight. A 4-punch combination brought Klitschko to his knees, but he looked more disappointed in himself than hurt. You don't get to be the longest reigning heavyweight champion without some grit. He survived the round and even landed on a gassed out AJ. The next round we were abruptly reminded why Klitschko's nickname is Dr. Steelhammer. With an absolute missile of a right hand, Vlad laid Joshua out and it looked like the face of British boxing was doomed. Suddenly we had a clash of the titans on our hands. Joshua got up, but had to grab on to survive the round. At this point, perhaps because of his age, Klitschko was too cautious and allowed AJ to recover, giving us the most iconic uppercut in the modern heavyweight era. To this day, I still don't know how Vlad's head stayed on his neck or how he stood standing as long as he did. This time, Joshua smelled blood and knocked down the veteran 2 more times en route to a stoppage victory. A true passing of the heavyweight torch. 2017's Fight of the Year gave Klitschko a legendary send-off and saw the rise of an emerging star in Joshua. A composed and ferocious finisher with knockout ability I hope we'll see again soon. Deontay Wilder is the prime example of a boxer who's always in the fight. Arguably the hardest hitting heavyweight of all time, the Bronze Bomber only needs a split second to land his right hand. But when you have that eraser, that catastrophic fight ender, you fall in love with your power and neglect your boxing skills. In the case of the Luis Ortiz rematch, Wilder was perfectly fine with losing rounds. A slick Cuban technician, Ortiz was controlling the fight and landing all the notable leather. I must admit, I foolishly believed that Ortiz was going to be the first to crack the Wilder puzzle. He was comfortably ahead on all the scorecards and winning the exchanges. But as Wilder always says,
these guys have to be perfect. They have to be perfect. For 12 rounds, I only have to be perfect for 2 seconds.
The Alabama hammer came down on Ortiz's head and he was sent to the Shadow Realm. Down on the scorecards or badly hurt, Wilder always has a puncher's chance. Even after Fury had him rocked in their trilogy fight, staggered and on the back foot, he sent a shockwave of force through Fury's body. At any given moment, the Bronze Bomber can put you to sleep. Speaking of punching power, Devin Haney is the undisputed lightweight champ. Watch this video next to find out why he might actually be the most hated champion of his era.